Hi and welcome. I'm Armin, you're watching Moto, and this is a lovely 2025 BMW S1000 RR. Looks like the M. It has now the wings from the M1000 RR, exactly the wings that Top Rock won the World Championship with, and they are now stock on the 2025 S1000 RR. Welcome to this video where I will talk about the 10 best modifications you can do to your S1000 to have more fun at the track, be safer and be faster. And these are in no particular order. So let's start with number one. Number one, and this is a big one. We're getting the cat out of the bag right away. S1000s since the K67 model, which was launched in the US in 2020, are notoriously bad for the ECU tuning. It's not the fault of BMW, but really the testing of the EPA in California. If you're watching this video outside of the US, you might have completely different setup. I know, for example, the tune is very good in Europe, but in the USA, we get a very neutered tune with a massive flat spot around 8,000 RPMs, and it makes riding the bike at the track very, very bad. It's just like a really poor experience. It's not fun. You have no power, and then suddenly the power just hits you. It feels more like riding something with a turbo, and it makes riding and especially exiting corners just really quite annoying. So in the US, it's number one. If you want to take it to the track, please do yourself a favor and get yourself a good tune. This bike has this lovely tune from Schiff. He works at Open Flash, and I can only recommend it. What's cool about this tune is it makes the curve very, very smooth and you don't have the flat spots. Most tunes out there do that. But also there's a lot of thought about the engine braking and how long to keep injectors running so that your entrance into the corner sounds really good and also is much, much smoother. But just overall, if you've ever ridden a stock S1000 RR since the model year 2020 in the USA, it's a really poor experience without the flash. So I just wanted to get it out there. Most of you probably already know about this. Get yourself a flash. Brand Tune is also a very popular one where you can go out, upload the new map, and then the bike will behave completely different. Also, if you put an aftermarket exhaust on it, you definitely should get a tune to make sure that ECU is set up properly for the new exhaust system. So number one, very basic one, get yourself a tune and the bike will run so much smoother. Also will start up nicer and will have other benefits across the board. It's a video for itself. For now, let's jump into a more surprising one, number two. Number two is an interesting one. Here I have an aftermarket fuel cap. The nice thing is here you can just open it and you don't need a key. The big benefit of this is opening and closing is just a lot faster and easier. Just always make sure that you lock it, because on track you might lose this cap. It's not attached like the OEM one. I already lost one once on track and it was really embarrassing and stupid. So always make sure to lock it. But why the heck am I talking about the fuel cap? I'm talking about the fuel cap so you can get yourself something like this. This is a VP Racing fuel jug, and this has a little pump with a motor on top of it. So you have your own portable gas station. So if you look at the bike and you want to go to the track, you think, oh my God, I need to make it lighter, are we faster? You can upgrade things, you can put carbon fiber here and there, and yes, the bike will get a little bit lighter. You can get rid of mirrors. Yes, you save a little bit weight again. But in this tank are over 3 gallons of fuel. That's about 10 kilos or 20 pounds of weight. So if you don't take that on the track, your bike is a lot lighter. Now you say, wait a second, you need fuel to run around the track. Yes, in the beginning, don't worry about it, right? If you go the first time on the track, just run a full fuel load. But after a while, you will notice at your pace how much fuel you will consume per session. If you're really aggressive, you just put in the fuel that you need for exactly that session. Then you have the lightest bike possible, and you will notice it. The bike will noticeably turn easier from side to side in chicanes especially, but also braking and acceleration will be easier and better. You save a lot of fuel, easier to handle bike, and you also get less fatigued of moving that bike around. So Actually, I will put a link in the description for this one with the fuel pump, so you can have that set up for yourself as well. But yeah, at the track you can refuel whenever you want. And this is the biggest and easiest way to shave off a lot of weight off your bike. Here we go, number 3. So we talked about the tune, important, fuel, super easy hack to make it lighter. Number 3 is wheels. On this bike we have some sweet OZ Racing, Alpha Racing spec wheels. They're really light. They're some of the lightest aluminum forged wheels that you can get. And wheels make a huge, huge, huge difference. The standard bike comes with cast aluminum wheels and they're really heavy. So those cast wheels will make the bike handle a lot worse. It will steer slower, it will accelerate slower, and it will brake slower. Rotating mass is a really big thing, right? It has a gyroscopic effect. It makes the bike stand up, and so the lighter the wheel, the better it brakes, the better it handles, and the better it accelerates. From the factory, you have 3 options. You have the standard wheels. Don't use them on the track if you can. I know wheels are expensive, but it's really the biggest upgrade you can do to your bike, and it changes every aspect of riding. It makes the bike feel so much better. The forged M wheels that you can optionally get for the S1000s are really good. On track, they are super solid, they are light enough, and you will have a noticeable difference over the stock wheels. If you then step it up to the carbon fiber wheels, they're a whole nother level, and oh my god, they feel so good, especially side to side chicanes, flipping the bike from one side to the other. You feel a huge difference in how nimble the bike feels like. Also, it will stop quicker and it will accelerate quicker because there's just less mass in the wheels to accelerate and to slow down. So huge gains there. However, on the track, you will change tires often, especially in the faster groups. You will go through a rear tire once a day, maybe more often than that, depending on your pace. And carbon fiber wheels are fragile, especially the tire changers. When they do 100 tires a day, they won't care about your fancy new carbon fiber wheels, and it's more likely that they might get damaged. So yes, carbon fiber have the best performance, but you need to be careful. They just get damaged easier, and repairing them is almost impossible. So it can be very, very expensive and very painful if you get a brand new carbon fiber wheel dinged or broken. That would be very sad. Aluminum ones, much easier to fix, also sturdier, and the tire guys, they are used to them. So you have much, much, much less of a hassle with those. Most people that go a lot to the track run aluminum wheels. They're a little bit heavier, but you just save a lot of pain and suffering not going the carbon fiber route. So there you have it. Wheels makes a huge difference. Topic number 4, suspension. Suspension makes a huge difference on the racetrack. On the street, you probably don't notice it so much. You probably just feel if the bike is harsh over bumps or not. That's really what most people realize. If you're a very advanced rider, you will also notice changes about how much the front dives under braking, how is corner turn in, how is it with trail braking or without, how is it accelerating out of corners. On the track, everything is 10x more intense. So to have a proper suspension setup will give you tons of benefits. The OEM bikes come with the fully manual suspension, which is not bad, and then also the electronic supported suspension, which is actually pretty decent. Both of those systems offer you a lot of adjustability, and when you're at track, what you should first do is spend some money and go to your local suspension guy. If you're lucky enough and you live in North California, you have Dave Moss or other folks around, please work with them to just get your suspension dialed in to your body weight, to your riding style, to your speed, to your tires, to your tire pressure. If you get it all dialed in, you will wear out less tires. They will just last longer. You will have more grip. The bike will steer better, will brake better. Suspension is so important, right? It's the one thing that keeps you with the tire on the ground. So dialing that in first, super important and makes a world difference. You will really feel it. It's money very well spent. You can try fiddling with yourself, but there's a lot of knowledge to learn at first. So learn from a pro and get your bike dialed in, and you can also adjust it later on if you want more. Now, if you have done that already, the next step is get aftermarket suspension. This bike has fancy Öhlins cartridge kit in the front and a TTX Öhlins shock in the rear. And when I first got the Öhlins setup, while you spend a lot of money on very fancy golden bling suspension, and the ride sucked when I put it on the bike. It was terrible. The bike didn't steer, didn't brake, nothing worked. And it is very surprising, right? You get more premium suspension, you put it on your bike, and it is for that bike, but it just doesn't work out of the box very well. Why is that? Even though the bikes are pretty similar across the different years from 2020 to 2025, there are changes in geometry, swing arm length, those kind of things. And just to start with, you need to find out the spring rate that you want to use in the front and the rear. How do you do that? You can give people your body weight and then they will be in the ballpark, but most likely the first set of springs will be wrong. And then the damping and also the choke length and the length of the suspension in the front is all customizable. So with those premium setup, what you really get is better dampening and more adjustability. But adjustability is a double-edged sword. Yes, you can dial it into your liking, but you need to dial it in to get it working. I need to work with Jesus from Daredevil Motorsports in Sacramento, and he is awesome because he knows how Moto America bikes from BMW are set up, and he puts that into your bike if you have an S1000 with Öhlins suspension. What happened in the front is we have 1 centimeter more travel, actually in the front and the rear, and then the dampening stacks, the shim stacks in the front, and also dampening of the rear shock are completely changed, which transforms the bike. So is it worth it? Maybe, maybe not. So I would say the standard suspension, manual or semi-automatic, it's really great. And you can run pretty fast group, A group pace with that, no problem. Now, why would you go for more expensive suspension? You will generate more grip, and grip is good, right? So on the front, you can brake deeper, and on the rear, you can accelerate harder out of corners. You will just have, in both those scenarios, more edge grip and more acceleration and more braking. However, getting it dialed in is a lot of work and it's painful. So unless you just want to go through it and learn about it, which can be very exciting, or you really want to race and you say, my stock suspension is holding me back, sure, go for it, change it out. But this is one of those things where it's pretty expensive. When it's dialed in, it's really sweet, but it's a lot of pain and suffering to get there. So up to you. If you have the stock stuff, first stick with it. First, get to use it all and really get the most out of it before you upgrade your suspension. The exhaust is our next topic. Here you can see a very fancy blued titanium Akrapovic exhaust system. And this is one of those things where probably most people, if you waited for when is the exhaust coming, it must be super important, right? It's really not. The stock exhaust system might get a little bit hotter, and yes, it is a lot heavier, but the weight is super low down, right? Like you will have this big cat toaster box looking thing right here. And the weight is super low, so it doesn't really affect the dynamics of the bike a whole lot. Yes, with a full system, you will eke out a little bit more power, and actually they run cooler because the hot air can just exit easier and you don't have this big metal lump down there getting really hot and potentially burning your feet, which on very hot days in the US of over 110 degrees Fahrenheit, I had once my Dainese boot melt and the sole came off, which was not a fun experience. Now, the benefits are they look super sweet, they sound super good, and you save a ton of weight. Is it absolutely necessary when you go to the track? No, it's not. Stock system is fine, but most people will want to uncork it. The bike sounds a lot better, especially when you rev it out through the rev range. And if you blip the throttle a lot of times, you actually get a little flame shooting out of the exhaust because it's a completely straight open system. And if you have ever like a dark environment in a garage so we can see it, it's always a fun little party trick to have a flamethrower on your bike. That's pretty cool. Everyone likes that. Number 6, brakes. This is actually an interesting one. I needed to get my notes out to go through all the steps there separately. You can do a lot with brakes, and you can spend literally thousands of dollars on just improving your braking system. But I caution you to not spend all that money right away because the benefits are very, very small. What do you gain when you upgrade your braking system? There's really 2 main areas. The one is better heat resistance or make it just more adequate for racetrack use. because the stock system used to overheat and you would get a lot of brake fade, where with every lap the brake lever gets closer and closer in until, in the worst case, you have no brakes. You pull the lever all the way to the handlebar and you don't stop the bike. Really, really bad. Nowadays, 25 models have these little scoops. They cool down the calipers, which helps already a lot to keep the brake system cooler. So you have more consistency, that with every lap, every corner, you have the same braking power and brake point. Super, super important to get confident, because if the brakes behave differently, it's every corner, every session, every temperature, you will never find your brake markers and you will just have the hardest time entering a corner fast and with confidence. So brakes are there to give you a lot of confidence, but a lot of riding on the track is all about confidence. Suspension, brakes, those things really help you to find more confidence, because the bike with every lap does what you expect it to do. So what can you change on the brakes? First step is really easy. Put some more aggressive pads on it. The standard pads are made for street use. They are fine for that. At the track, they can get so hot that they glaze and they look like a mirror finish, and then they don't stop you very well anymore. And you would have to resurface them or throw them away. So you can get a lot of aftermarket pads. I will not go into details here, but I use, for example, some Alpha Racing ones. They are great. And it's a fairly cheap upgrade, a couple of $100, and you have really solid pads for the track. Now, the second thing I would change is actually the brake fluid. In your brake reservoir, you have standard DOT fluid. There's, for example, the RBF Motul 700 brake fluid, which I'm using on this bike, and a lot of Brembo fluids and other brands that are great. They will actually help you a lot with the feel on how the brake lever feels and how firm the pressure is when it comes to the pressure point. And they just handle high temperatures much better. Why wouldn't they be on every street bike? Because the fluid attracts more water and you just need to change the fluid more often. If you go to the track and you take care of your bike, changing brake fluid should be not too hard for you. If it is hard, let me know. I can make a video for you there as well. Number 2 is changing brake fluid makes a big difference. Plus, it's really cheap. Number 3, changing the good old master cylinder. The master cylinder that BMW puts on their S1000s is from Nissan, and it's a really old design. It's already on there. I think it's pretty much unchanged since the 2010 model, which had one. I bet they have made some smaller revisions to it, but overall it's the same master cylinder. It stops the bike, but it doesn't give you a lot of feeling. It's quite spongy. And that doesn't give you confidence. So this is a very lovely forged Brembo cylinder. You don't need to go that far, but if you go to the Corsa Quarter or any other aftermarket ones, they're probably better than the OEM system. Speaking of which, a lot of people will tell you to get rid of the ABS system. Don't do that if you're new to the track. I would only recommend you to get rid of the ABS system and have shorter lines if you are a racer, club racer kind of level. Before that, this ABS system is so good, you will not feel a thing, and it will give you this extra safety margin to not do a stoppie and endo yourself into nirvana. And also, if you ever run off track, you still have ABS to slow the bike down on grass, mud, gravel, sand, whatever you might have when you do an off-track excursion. After upgrading the master cylinder, we can move down there. The OM system with the rotor and the caliper is really, really good. But this is, for example, a fully floating rotors. Fully floating rotors are nice because the rotor can float a little bit left to right, and that gives the pads just a better contact patch, and the feel in the lever is better. If you have a rotor that's not absolutely 100% straight, then you will feel a little pulsing in the lever. It's not ABS yet, just a tiny little pulsing when you do braking and you really feel for your fingertips on how it feels like. With floating rotors, it goes away. That means you have better braking performance and better feel, which gives you better confidence. Also, aftermarket rotors come in different sizes, so you can get some that are lighter than your OEM ones, which makes the front wheel lighter. And as we learned with the wheel section earlier, if your front wheel is lighter, it will steer nicer, it will accelerate better, it will stop better. You can also get bigger rotors. They can absorb more energy. So if you're a heavier rider, that's also an option that you can explore. Or if you just have the heaviest braking circuit next to your home, that's also something you can play with. But usually the 5.5 millimeter rotors should do the trick for most people. Then, last but not least, the caliper. BMW uses Nissin monoblock calipers and they're good. You really don't need to change them. That's why I left it as very last. A lot of people expect that you put a $2,000 Brembo caliper on, but like the shiny silvery ones, and people expect that it turns you into Rossi or Marquez and just a braking god like Top Rack. It's not going to happen. Yes, they will brake maybe 5% better than these OEM ones, but 5% is not a lot. And those 5% are also only being accessed when you are really good on the brakes and actually using 100% of what these calipers can give you. Very few people ever get to that level. So if you want the blink on your bike, that's probably number one reason to upgrade your calipers. If you have too much money flying around, yeah, get some fancy ones. They look sick. So totally go for it. But the OEM ones are really good. I wouldn't upgrade them. I never did. And it's really not necessary to do very, very fast lap times. So to sum brakes up, there's a lot of things you can change. I would go in that order I just introduced you to. Don't spend too much money on it first. Really get to use the brakes and find the limit of each component before you upgrade. Then you will really appreciate the upgrade. If you just start with a World Superbike build and it's your first track day, you will probably not appreciate it and probably will go slower than on the stock system. Alrighty, number 7. Here's an important one. It's the ergonomics of how you fit on the bike. And I can tell you what to do there because I don't know your body shape, size, or anything. I'm just looking at a camera right now. Anyway, dialing in the bike to your body shape and size and weight is really important. So the first thing I always do is get some tank pads so that when you're actually sitting on the bike, you're more connected, right? You press your knees into it, you slide around less, and it's a very cheap update. So I would recommend everyone on track get tank pads, else you will just slide around and be uncomfortable and maybe even crash because you just have no grip and no contact point with the bike. Speaking of contact points, next one is down here, where your feet go, foot pegs. This one is an adjustable system, and I would recommend you get an adjustable one. Throw away the OEM one. OEM one is decent, but if your knee is not exactly here in the right spot and your feet are not in the right position, you will lose a lot of energy and riding becomes a lot harder. So adjustable foot pegs, so you can put them up, forward, back, whatever direction you may need. Really, really, really helpful to have that. Then the next point is the seat. This is actually an older M seat. I don't like the ones that come with the 2025 model. They are a little bit higher. This is a little bit firmer and lower, so you're more in the bike. Some people like to sit really high. Some people like to sit very low. It depends. So you can dial in the seats. There's a lot of aftermarket ones. You can also go to have an entire race tail. They're usually quite a bit higher if you have a full race setup and it's like a couple of millimeters of foam, so you can feel the rear tire more as well. So seat, pretty important. Also, it will dictate so much your knee angle with the foot pegs and the seat, and then how you can hang off from the bike, how you interface with the tank, and how easy or how hard it is for you to move your body around. One often overlooked part is the screen. Here I have an aftermarket screen. Since a couple of years, BMW puts their taller race screens on the bike. The earlier 2000 models, 2020, 2021, and 2022 had shorter screens. So if you're on a track and your chin is on the tank, it's harder to get into this air bubble, and the taller screen is definitely better for the track. Also, this one is from WRS, which is actually a lot lighter. I think you save 500 grams just by getting a different screen. Looks the same, works the same. Actually, you have better optical clarity, and it's lighter and it's so high up. So weight savings, there you go. Last one for ergonomics is, of course, where your hands are. These are the OEM clip-ons that work really well for me. I have a video and I will put it here and also a link in the description below where I install and show you how it works with aftermarket clip-ons. I also have another video about a comparison between the Alpha Racing ones and the Gillis tooling clip-ons. Clip-ons are important, right? If you have really long arms, you might want to move them forward or you want to move them down closer to you if shorter arms maybe. To have this in a comfortable position where you can easily reach it, where you can easily hang off, brake, is very important. If you are around 5'9", like myself, you might just fit on the bike right away. But if you're really tall or really short or anything else, adjusting the clip-ons might be a very good thing. Also, if you change the clip-ons, the bike will crash a lot better. These OEM ones have a tendency to destroy your fork tubes, and then the repairs are very expensive if you fall onto the handlebar. And it's not just replacing a handlebar, but your forks and the suspension as well. Number 8, track kit, or what most people think about when track providers send you an email that you have to get your bike ready for the track. BMW makes a nice little kit where you have essentially these little plates here to remove the mirrors. The nice thing is the mirrors have the integrated turning signals. So if you remove those and put the block-off plates there, you have the front already taken care of. In the rear, you can get rid of your license plate holder and your indicators, which is all there. It's really nice that BMW made the cables under rear seat cowl much simpler and much more accessible. So you can really in 10 minutes remove the entire thing, put the plate with the BMW logo there, and then your rear looks like a proper race bike, and you don't have any brake lights. A lot of track providers want you to have no glass on the bike and no brake lights or indicators. So that's already then taken care of. If they have an issue with your front lights, you might need to tape them off. I have right now just some protective film on there. Also, the yellow looks sick as hell. Or leave me a comment in the description below if you actually like it or not. And the benefit there is you will get a lot of rock chips, right? Tires get very hot and sticky on the racetrack. They pick up rocks if there's a bike in front of you. You will get a lot of rocks that hit your front. So I put them there for extra protection. You can go as far as unplugging the lights, but you can also just tape them off with some masking tape that comes off easily. So you have that taken care of. Here you see the block-off plates, where it just looks really nice without the mirrors. Moving to the back, you have no license plate, you just have the little logo here, and it's all cleaned up and looks like a race bike. Yay! Number 9, almost the last topic, tires. Tires is also a huge topic. Actually, I made a video about Pirelli slicks, which you can access here. Also a link in the description below. Slicks are amazing on a track, right? I mean, you should only run them on track. Don't run them on the street. Slicks want to be very hot. It's very hard to, almost impossible to maintain a temperature on the open road. And they're not road legal, so don't do it on the road. You don't need slicks on the racetrack, especially when you go the first time. Your normal tires will do just fine. Slicks have a lot more grip. They have also different constructions. For example, this is the World Superbike 125 size, where you have a huge amount of lean angle. I even have still a little bit chicken strap lift here because I'm still recovering. If you wondered what was going on there, I damaged my leg pretty badly. I'm still recovering from that. So my riding still sucks a little bit, but I'm getting better. Thanks for asking. Slicks are really good. So if you have never done it and you have done already a lot of track days, give slicks a try. Just go to your tire guy next time your tires are worn out, old, done, or you just want something new, and try out slicks. Now for slicks, you need stands and tire warmers, and you need to get exactly the right pressure and them to the right temperature. And it's different for every track and every temperature setting for that track. So it gets complicated and there's a lot to learn, which is exciting. But you get this extra margin of safety, right? If you need to brake suddenly in a weird spot at a lean angle and you were already off the brakes, you will have extra grip. So just for learning, fucking up, and recovering without crashing, slicks are great. I had a couple of times my tires slide. There was once a corner where both tires hit a tar snake and the bike slid with both tires. But because they were hot Pirellis, they regained traction. I didn't crash. Once I even lost the front because I was silly and was like trying to get my elbow down for a photo. And then I removed too much pressure off the handlebar and I felt the front fold right away. But because I was hung over so much, I actually bounced onto my elbow and back up. And the slicks saved me. So it was definitely not skill. It was just pure dumb luck and really good tires. And I didn't crash. So it's really nice to have this extra blanket. So yes, slicks wear out quicker, but they give you the ultimate amount of grip. And crashing is much more expensive than buying a couple of new tires. So give them a try. And you probably guessed it already. Slicks also give you so much more performance on the braking into the corner. But what most people fear, especially with the good traction control of an S1000RR, on a corner exit, you can just pin it very early and you will put big black lines with your rear tire onto the tarmac and shoot out of corners. The acceleration this bike can put down on slick tires when the suspension is working properly and the tires hot is, mwah, it's really good. So give it a try. You will be safer and faster. Topic numero 10. Lap timer. Lap timer and other tools, right? I'm really talking about data acquisition. So a lap timer is super helpful because you know if you went faster or slower, but also it records your entire laps. So you can put on your phone, your laptop, or whatever you're using to see actually where you're going faster. You can compare it to other riders. You can change something and you can see where you gain, where you lose. You can go much further. You can also have sensors on the bike where you read out information about throttle application, what, how soon do you close the throttle, when do you start braking, how hard do you brake, suspension travel sensors. The world is your oyster. You can go nuts. But what I would start with is get yourself a camera, put a GoPro on here, Insta360, or whatever your flavor of camera is, and record yourself. That'd be really helpful because you can actually look at the videos and see what you're doing. And then you will also see your mistakes. You can compare to other riders and then see where you're losing time, where you're gaining time. It's a really, really nice adventure to go through. Lap timers are great because they just record your times and all the information per corner, so it can be very helpful. And then you can go to full data systems where you read out the data from the bike and put on more sensors for front travel, rear travel, that kind of stuff to know everything that the bike is doing. That's what race teams do. So for every corner, they have exactly the data what you are doing and not what you think you're doing. So if you want to go faster, having the data, if it's just video or lap time or all the data of the bike, is super helpful because you can actually look what's what and improve based on that. Alrighty, and there we are already. 10 things that you can improve or add on your bike to improve your experience on the racetrack a lot. I hope you have seen that there's a lot of things you can do without spending tons amounts of money. Racing in the end is still expensive, but there's a lot of things you can do on a smaller budget. One of the biggest upgrades you can do to your bike is definitely to get better wheels and tires. After that, I would also look into brakes and definitely get your suspension dialed in. But I hope there were a couple of surprises in there for you. You learned a couple of things. Please give it a like. And if this video gets over 100 likes, I will actually do a video about this lovely 2025 S1000 and will show you what I did to this bike, what modifications I did, what kind of setup I'm running, where I'm putting my camera. I will show you all these things. So give it a like. I hope this was helpful. Thanks for watching. Over and out for now. Bye-bye.